This week, a Watchtower whistleblower, Warwick PIMO, leaked a Gilead class talk of disgraced former governing body member Anthony Morris III, giving us a unique look at the so-called education that happens in spiritual education seminars. This talk is a modern-day Pharisaical ramble and exposes the religion for what it is, a corporation structured like an MLM where people work up the ranks to gain more access and power over those beneath them. All of that and nothing else, all on today's. I couldn't hear that, could you?
Hear what?
The little, noise of the intro?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Didn't come through my headphones, but that doesn't matter. Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Jake.
And I'm Christina.
And you're Christina.
Yolanda.
And Yolanda, this is Peaches.
Hi, guys.
And we are all here today to discuss a really cool leak that happened. Look how sleepy she's getting. Oh, my God. And this is wonderful. Thank you. Your makeup looks good. Or do you think they're complimenting my makeup?
No, definitely mine.
Yeah, probably.
Mine is far superior.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to get to today, so I think we're going to kind of get into it here pretty quickly because, yes, a wonderful whistleblower who has a channel that you should subscribe to, which I will put in the description after the broadcast. But if you just search Warwick PIMO on YouTube, it should come up. He released, at first, some clips of a Gilead graduation talk, or not graduation, just a Gilead class talk. And then today, actually, he posted the full thing. So I've got some clips that I pulled from the full talk that were not a part of that initial thing. And if it seems to anybody that they may only be from the first 15 minutes, it's because that's all the time I had to watch before it was time to start streaming.
We're very prepared for this.
Yes, we are extremely, but we are. We watched this.
We really did.
While under the influence of the devil's lettuce the other night. Drugs. Hardcore drugs. And honestly had one of the loveliest evenings we've ever had as a married couple.
Honestly, yeah. Which is, I don't know whether that's a good thing that we needed drugs to help us with that.
What's need? It just all added. And yes, it was a bit of a Mary Jane, as commenters are saying. But we had a really great conversation about it. And will that we be able to replicate that? Probably not.
We don't have Mary Jane with us today.
just coffee. Where's the camera?
That says Mr. Right, but he's never really right.
Well, yes, we got this as a wedding gift, and there was a mug that says Mr. Right and a mug that says
Mrs. Always Right.
Very funny witness appropriate humor. And so they remain apart to this day. We have some lovely folks in the chat. We got Ron Pomo, we've got Jenny Bloom, we've got Riley, Jegs of 2020, and of course all of our regular friends and cuties and buddies. I don't know. Also,
I want to just say thank you for complimenting my glasses and my haircut. I appreciate that.
Aren't compliments wonderful?
They're very wonderful.
Okay, so to get into, absolutely, it is boomer humor. So let's, okay, so the thing that I wanted to start this off with was when I was watching this leak, the thing that it most reminded me of, as I kind of noted in the introduction, was like NXIVM conversations that Keith Raniere would have with the folks, with the folks in the group. And so I wanted to show a little clip of that. So let's see here.
Did all different things.
Are you hearing any of this?
I deeply honor that.
Okay, so my headphone just
For me, if it's a choice, and I've had the misfortune in some ways in life, but I consider it very fortunate to give up all my material possessions and business and things like that
as we go along. I know what he's saying in this clip.
And not have a good word. Or not have.
The reason why I wanted to play this was just kind of this candid behind the scenes, he's just sitting among the people talking. He expresses
is he sitting among the people? He's sitting among the elite people.
Yes.
Be specific as to what kind of people.
Yes, exactly. And you'll hear this kind of faux humility that he's giving, and this is what it reminded me of.
And no one would think in the outside it was about my word, but it was about my word to me. Or give up everything and have my word. It's not even a hard decision. There's no decision.
Yeah. So
I joyfully do.
This is Keith Raniere, the president and founder of Nexium, which if you haven't...
Or that creep Raniere.
That creep Raniere, yes, he's a huge creep, and it is genuinely a huge problem that I can't hear any of this. Here's what I think I'm going to do, is I'm going to unplug our headphones and just mute it when we are listening to a clip.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So we just can't talk over the clip as it's airing. And also, we didn't say, we are coming to you from live inside the bedroom.
The bedroom.
Where the magic happens. No, I don't know.
Something happens, but I don't know about magic.
I don't know about that. Okay.
I am a magic practicing priest, so.
Well, we'll be far less like attached at the hip if we take out the headphones anyway. So, okay, let me make sure. Let's see if this works now.
Do that. When I feel I've made this right, I will be very happy with whatever I put in, because it makes the word stronger.
Read this.
Okay, so that's, yeah, I just wanted some context. I just wanted some context there. That's why we showed that. See if this conjures any images in your minds. As you are watching our good buddy, Anthony Morris, the turd. And I don't know how old this recording is. Maybe I'll look on Warwick PIMO, or if somebody can let us know in the chat if he said when this was from. It's recent-ish, it would seem. But here's...
But you can't ever really know, right? Because he has always looked the same way forever.
He's looked, yeah, kind of the same way. And like, even like there was a period where he looked kind of like he was unhealthy and
That's
like
true.
had gained a lot of like water weight or something. And but then like the last couple talks he gave,
it's because he tried to not drink alcohol.
Yeah, his body rejected.
He was trying sobriety.
H2O. Well, there's a bit that I think I snipped out when I was making the clip, but you could see his hands really shaking in a certain part of this. Anyway, that's not important. So the other thing about Keith Raniere, though, is that he says a lot, but says nothing. He just loves to hear himself talk. It's not like this stream. Don't think about that. It's very different. And let's get into this first little clip that I thought was interesting.
Verse, James chapter 1, and you're all Bible scholars. Yeah, really. These people like to throw those terms around, and Jehovah's got the real scholars in the truth, you know.
Okay, so what did you think of that? We've got the real scholars, baby.
I love how he said, we have some real Bible scholars here. And then like laughed at his own joke when he like looked up as if to be like, yeah, I'm funny, guys.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't really think you guys are Bible scholars. That was a joke.
Yes. Well, like they kind of laughed and he's like, no, yeah, like we don't really believe the Bible scholars. Like we think that we're the best Bible scholars, which I thought was really interesting, a candid admission, but also like what I think is important about this is that, and what I think you see throughout this whole thing is how he inflates their ego and then brings them right back down and inflates his own ego and then has this kind of like faux humility.
Absolutely.
But I find this really, useful as a clip to have because they don't tend to say this in the publications, even though they definitely think it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What are these people? Who are these people who are throwing around terms like Bible scholars, by the way?
The turds of Bible scholars.
The turds of Bible scholars. I don't know why.
I just really wanted to say my joke. Okay.
Anthony Morris, the turds. Yeah, he says like, oh, they throw around words these days like Bible scholar. Like, no, they throw that word around when you go to school for years and years and get a degree in like Old Testament studies and you can speak Coptic and ancient Greek and like review ancient manuscripts. Like, no, they don't just throw that around. God damn it.
Are we saying Bible scholars are just throwing terms around?
They're just these, they. It's us v them, and I don't know who them are, but they're always saying stuff like Bible scholars.
I would like them to actually know specific Bible scholars, so that way they could say the people and not just a blanket statement. But that would mean you would have to raise awareness that there are people who actually say things that are accurate.
Yeah, they like to quote dead Bible scholars who wrote commentaries like 50 years ago. All right, let's get to the next little bit here.
One thing to read these, and you could even teach them. You elders have probably given talks on this, or maybe used it on a shepherding visit. You sisters have taught those you study the Bible with. Now, I have read the Bible many times, in many translations. Right now I have projects all the time, and I'm reading, in addition to the New World Translation, 3 other translations, these new ones that they work on, and that these are projects, and same chapters, and then I end up with the New World Translation, and I just love it.
Yeah, so this little bit of like bragging that he does, I thought was really interesting. Like, I'm always doing all these Bible projects.
I have all of these projects, guys. I don't have time for you. I only have time for me. Yes.
And Ron Pomo points out that, yes, the Bethel libraries are loaded with books from real Bible scholars. And I think, like, I was trying to see if I could find some fun quotes from Crisis of Conscience, which I've been rereading. From Crisis of Conscience.
I was like, cool. Let me just move out of the
like
way.
Mike Wazowski in Monsters Inc. It's like always covering up his face. So like, well, it's a long book, so I had difficulty rolling a like specific pertinent quote. But what I remember him mentioning in one section of this was that he was like, in his early days at Bethel, was hesitant to go to the Bethel Library because people referred to it as like sucking from the teat of Babylon the Great.
Yeah, I remember reading that too, and it really, that image really sticks with you.
The images of teats,
especially Babylon the Great's teeth,
and especially the suckling part, I think, is what really gets me.
They know all about that. Oh wait, no.
Yeah, he's suckling on the teat of a Pabst Blue Ribbon. Or whatever he drinks, I don't know. Okay, so that's...
He's not a Pabst Blue Ribbon drinker.
No, I don't think so. Okay, so I think this next little bit is him talking about how he gets into the zone.
AutoZone?
Yeah, this was a real interesting...
Yeah.
I've read the Bible many times. I can't make heads or tails of this thing. I'm pretty sure it says that I'm in charge. That's the thing.
That's the only thing I understand out of the entire Bible Scripture.
The thing that makes sense to me is that like it's foretelling that I should be in charge of God's one and only true church. Anyway, so this next little bit here, I think is him getting in the zone, AutoZone.
Power's on. It's amazing. And every time you go through the Bible, you're going to get other things. And my experience is that I'll be going along fine, doing well, feeling good. And I've been doing this a lot of years. And I said, yeah, boy, I feel good, Jehovah. And then, he, okay, let me show you this. Oh, man. Or something comes up, whatever, and it's like, yep, I need more work. Sure do,
Okay, I was wrong. This is not quite yet the zone, but this is him talking about, I think this is a good example of like faux humility. Like, hey, I also read the Bible and have to be like, wow, I got to work on some things. But wait, there's more.
But wait.
So it's an ongoing process. You're going to have some hundred.
Wait. Christina had a very good joke. I said, but wait, there's more. And you said,
yeah, he does have a lot of but wait.
Good stuff. Okay. That was important.
Hundreds of years, the anointed get the whole thing on resurrection, but we need the ransom just like you do right now. And if we're not reading the Bible and taking the adjustment and being observing, we're not going to progress. See, that's the thing with this kind of relationship with God. Either goes forward.
Okay, I wanted to highlight this part in particular. And please sound off if I am accurately muting the mic, because sometimes I worry that I forgot. Okay, so him saying, hey, we anointed people in charge also have to follow the direction. But he makes the direction.
Right.
Him and his friends.
And who are his friends?
Oh, well, you're going to hear him call them by nicknames and stuff throughout you got Jeff Jackson, Steve Lett.
That little Stevie Lett.
Sammy Hurd. He doesn't call him that, but
No,
he should.
I mean, if you're making all of these nicknames for your friends, you might as well say Sammy Hurd.
Kenny the Cookie Monster. He doesn't call him that either.
You should send this into the organization.
The Big Fleeg, Gage Flegel, and then the other guy who nobody remembers and will never learn his name.
I honestly forgot that there was that.
I know.
Those two new people, because I could care less.
You know who has definitely not forgotten is Anthony Morris, because I'm pretty sure he was forced out by this guy. We don't know that. Cranial capacity Hurd. Yes. Phrenology, Sam Hurd. Okay, wait. Let's go back just a hair.
God either goes forward or it goes back. There's no neutral. You don't have neutral. You got neutral in a car. This is not a car, it's your life. We're trying to emphasize, because he was human. Obviously, so well, God can see things, but he's a...
Okay, so I accidentally dipped into the next clip there, but like, this thing of him saying, hey, your relationship can only go forward and backward, not neutral. It's not he didn't have a scripture for that.
No, because 95% of what they say is not scripturally based.
Yeah.
Like, they use two scriptures to support their power, and then that's it. Like, they really are not Bible scholars. Let's be honest. I'm more of a Bible scholar than any of those guys are.
People are trying to teach us the name of Jeffrey Winder, and then some people are very fondly saying Winder, I hardly know her. But I don't want to learn this guy's name, although I feel confident that I will have forgotten it by the next time I have to say it. So I think it'll all work out. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know what any of that meant. Okay. Maybe this part's the zone part. We'll see. So there's an interesting little section here where he gets into like, because Witnesses only reads like 4 or 5 scriptures, and one of them is the parable of the woman with like 2 small coins of little value. So
the women of little teats of small value.
two teats to suckle at of small value. Yeah. Was Jesus the original incel? Like talking like Andrew Tate talking about like high value women and like low value women?
Honestly, he never, that we know of, had any kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So he was either gay or he was an incel.
Yeah.
I believe
those are the 2 options.
The only 2. I don't see any other options that he could have been.
Or he was just fucking on the side, never wrote anything down about it. He didn't tell his friends about it.
That's upsetting, because you should definitely tell your friends if you're
Or the disciples followed bro code and knew that snitches get stitches. That was Jesus' parable. Mm-hmm. The parable of the stitches. Okay.
Human.
My God.
I did a great job editing this 5 minutes before.
Which amounts to a quadrans, and we've got the nice appendix with it now. So these treasury chests are over there. So you have to capture all of this. There's people around, his disciples are around him, and Jesus has his observation powers turned on. And this is what we're trying to emphasize, because he was human. Obviously, so well, God can see things, but he's a human, even though he'd been a spirit creature in the heavens. So all this activity, they have no idea of what's really going on and what Jesus is doing while conversations are happening. And this here, I got an original one somebody gave me, is a lepta.
Lepta, I hardly know why.
Okay, you cannot piggyback off of Jenny's joke.
Well, I can do whatever the hell I want. And I can also say, oh, there's a word for this. They're called vol cells. You're talking about vol cells, of course. But okay, so this little bit is interesting here. I just want to note that how shallow the spiritual food is. Like, if you've ever listened to, and I'm speaking as an agnostic atheist now, but if you do listen to these Bible scholars that people are throwing around these days, Like the amount of insight that they're able to get from stuff like the Gospels is really incredible. And what Toni Morris has noticed is like, wow, Jesus noticed a lady across the room. He must have been so observant, like Sherlock Holmes or something.
Because he never had like fucked anybody, so he was like, oh, look at that woman.
Jesus was MGTOW. He legit kind of was.
I love that.
Although I think he did have like women disciples that they just like don't really mention my name a lot, but he kind of was just like squad goals.
Which shows that the Bible is misogynist.
That is radical, madam.
Well, if there were priestesses, then why aren't they ever mentioned? I mean,
priestess.
Stop.
No.
I mean, there were a few that were mentioned in the Bible, but I feel like if there were a bunch of priests or prophets that were men, there's probably more than just 2 priestesses.
Well, you had Mary. You had Mary, the other one, and probably some others. And the woman of 2 small teats. Jesus was my God. Okay. This is going to be such a long stream.
I mean, this is a real one. You know, from way back there, that's what the brother was told anyway. I think I made Jeff Jackson a little jealous that I had a real one. I think he has a fake one now. If you take this advice to heart and you really listen, it's between you and the Almighty. If you don't, well, it's between you and the Almighty. But if you get the spirit of this and turn your observation powers on, I'm not saying you haven't had some, that's why when we went through your applications, you're here. But I really believe a lot more people in the truth as well could do better with observing. Really observe what's going on. You'll hear us come back to that theme. You're missing a lot probably. Like when I was in Italy, I had mine on. I keep my observation powers on mostly with people because this is the most valuable asset, the people. I love people. But at the Colosseum, the Ark of Titus, you know, I go in a zone, you know, and the sister, Kessia, she's a Gilead grad with her husband, Eric, really knows what she's talking about on the tour. But see, I just absorb it. I went into that place, and when I started getting some of the details, just went into it.
What?
He went into the auto zone. Nova Kind says, so you're present and listening? No, this is a cool spiritual thing that only he can do as one of the anointed. He goes into the Jesus zone, and he can
Jesus zone.
It's like when Sherlock goes into his mind palace and can notice that, you know, there's dirt on somebody's shoes, which meant that they killed their wife in the mud.
In the mud.
In the mud with the knife.
This is like the Bible version of Clue.
Yes, a little bit. And like, yeah, like I guess he loves people. He loves exploiting people. That's for damn sure.
I had to laugh when he said, I love people.
I've never heard a bigger lie.
Seriously?
Never heard a bigger lie from a governing body member. This is okay. This sort of rambling, I regret to inform you that I am working on a video that's a little bit, and by which I mean pretty exclusively focused on like MAGA and like Trump, cults of personality and stuff. But so much of it, like Heath Raniere, based around cults of personality, like it's just them rambling about nothing.
Yeah.
They just have a captive audience.
I was going to say, this is so narcissistic. You don't care who your audience is. You really don't care what you're saying because you don't really have an end point. Your whole focus is, I have a captivated audience or a captive audience.
Yes.
and they're captivated because they don't know what I'm saying.
Well, yeah. So we have 167 people watching this. We have a captivated audience. We have people that are paying attention. He has a captive audience. He has people that are trapped in that room. They're miles away from home, and they can't just be like, I'm going to watch something else on YouTube.
Isn't that what happened with Trump at one of his rallies? He had a captive audience.
People wanted to leave, and he's like, no, you cannot. We will not allow that to happen. So that's Anyway, I thought these were really interesting, but they are not the most interesting. And we have not gotten into misogyny or any of that. So
buckle up for my reaction with that.
But wait, there's more. So, okay, let's get to Warwick PIMO's leaked video here. And I think he did a really fantastic job of picking out the most pertinent parts of this program. Picking out pertinent parts of the program. Alliteration.
You can't even say alliteration, but you can alliterate.
This is my brain. It is very problematic. So please do, by the way, do yourself a favor, subscribe to Warwick PIMO, because he has got really great updates and also just some videos, talking about being a Bethelite and stuff like that.
True that.
But yeah, this is really great stuff. And we will be getting into some segments. We'll have a lot to say about this 10 minutes worth of footage.
Don't try to please men. You'll wind up pleasing no one. Please Jehovah, and you'll please those who love Jehovah. And I'm going to repeat that, because you can get back trying to please your branch committee, or if you're a circuit overseer, trying to please the district overseer. I'm not saying you shouldn't honor them. Double honor is appropriate, but give me a break.
Okay, I don't think we picked up on this the other day, but the concept of double honor makes absolutely no sense.
No, what does that mean?
Well, it reminds me of how Jehovah will hand out a double portion of Holy Spirit.
But in math, if you have a the same thing, they cancel each other out. So is that what he's saying? A double portion, you're actually not getting anything?
I don't know if that's true of math, because I feel if I eat 2 portions of cake, then I will get more fat than if I just eat one.
If you have 1, subtract 1, it's 0. You have nothing.
Well, I've never claimed to be a mathematician, so I'm just going to assume that you're right. But I like the idea that he's just yeah, double honor, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't make sense. I've never been well, I honor this person, but yeah, I'll activate double honor mode for this circuit overseer. It is in the Bible after all.
It's a cheat code for a video game.
Yeah, when we were playing Grand Theft Auto, and you activate double speed, so you move twice as fast. Oh, okay, yeah, let me put L1X, and we'll get double honor. This stream is terrible. I'm so sorry.
It's not about pleasing men. No, you're going to wind up pleasing no one. Please Jehovah, and that's what you live to do. You live to please Jehovah. Those that really love Jehovah, they're going to love you for trying to please Jehovah. That's how it works, especially at your level of spirituality. Jehovah's given you so much, see. But for you to make that kind of progress, you have to be able to take correction. This is not easy for most people.
I wonder if Anthony Morris had to take some direction recently, and he didn't necessarily take. And we don't know. But this is an interesting little segment, because we've got him basically saying, "Hey, you're not serving men. You're serving Jehovah." Side note: you cannot serve Jehovah without this organization. So you do actually need these men.
Isn't the whole premise of worshiping Jehovah is not to please men? You're told not to please men, but then he's literally turning around and going but actually we're the one, because we're not actually men.
Yeah, and somebody people pointed out at your level. Yeah. So great point. He is speaking to them, and you will see this many times throughout this, speaking to them as something above the average rank and file members.
Yeah.
That is their privilege of being there.
Well, and the other thing that I said when we were off mic, he's it's not about pleasing men, but as a woman in the organization, the expectation is that you do please men. Everything that you do is to please men.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
That's just my feminist 2 cents there.
Yeah, and if you displease men, you will get counseled for it, whether that's with your dress and grooming or being too, fiery with your speech or whatever. So yeah, we might experiment with trying to get Bluetooth headphones connected. How are we looking and sounding, by the way? Sound off. We're in our bedroom because I tend to edit in here, but I don't have my wired connection to the internet. So if the stream looks worse, that's probably why. But let us know.
It doesn't happen a lot, but enough to where I'm telling you it happens. Does it happen with Gilead graduates? Yeah. When we had the other missionary home arrangement, oh my word.
I never noticed that. I did not notice that the first time with his huge eye roll.
The crossed eye roll. I mean, that's impressive. Yeah. This I really, really like. This, well, ironically, I guess, but like this is a useful little segment to have. I think that so much of what governing body member meetings are like is shit like this. Like when Ray France talks in Crisis of Conscience of like how the Bible rarely comes into play in governing body member meetings, and how most of it is just like organizational policy and should this thing be a disfellowshipping matter. Like, I think that this is what he's talking about. So this here, imagine you are accepted to Gilead and you're told like you are the best of the best, cream of the crop, all that stuff. And I don't remember if I played this clip, but if you watch the full talk, he says at a certain point, like, we went through your applications. You are here for a reason. You're spiritual enough to be here.
Also, observation, how many times has he opened the Bible throughout this entire thing?
It's not a lot.
He opened it at one point, but I don't know if he actually read a scripture. He was just fingering through the pages and made that comment about Bible scholars.
Yeah, exactly. He reads like 2 scriptures in this like hour-long discourse he gives. Okay, so this part's really, really interesting.
And Brother Hurd and I were like, you gotta be kidding. And I understood the money thing way, way back, but Jehovah took care of that. And Jeff Jackson came on service committee, and he'd been missionary in Spain. So I talked to him, had them investigate, asked them to investigate some things, because I coordinate service committee, and they were so willing. Good men, beautiful men. Anyway.
And now we know.
We got a scoop. Beautiful men. This guy's talking like somebody in our household, talking about beautiful men all the time.
You?
Yeah.
Talk about
yeah.
Why would I say such a thing?
You don't talk about that. There's only one beautiful man in your life.
In his echo.
He is a beautiful man. Okay, so this is amazing. This is just a guy holding court.
Yeah.
Making everybody feel like they are in the club now. Like,
yeah.
This is what's interesting about this leak to me. Is that Gilead School is not like you are getting deep scriptural thoughts on like how to like understand the Bible and like there's nothing spiritual about it. It's like you are in the club now. Here's how shit works.
I mean, it's like a king in his royal court, right? Like you may be the jester, but at least you're part of the royal court.
yeah, exactly. He's just like talking about like, hey, me and Sam Hurd and Jeffy Jacks, we're just shooting the shit, and like we know this got to change, and yeah, we worry about money, but Jehovah takes care of that. Thank you for the super chat. The governor would discombobulated summarize this.
I love that. Discombobulated is a great word.
What an appropriate comment from somebody with that profile picture and name. Wonderful.
I agree. I think it's great.
And please do. And like, I'll be shameless about asking for super chats. Feel free to throw those bad boys in there,
Do it for me, guys.
Because Jehovah is not taking care of that for us, I have to say. He is not, he's not worth that.
I mean, Satan's not even been working
Nor is Satan.
Yeah.
I wish. It's bullshit that Satan doesn't give us money with all, good press we're giving him.
100%. God damn him.
God damn. Yeah, literally.
God did damn him.
By abyssing him. Abyss.
You take, for example, Jeff said something about those homes. It's the only setup that was democratic in this organization. The way the missionary home functioned. No wonder we had problems. We're not a democracy. We're a theocracy.
and no wonder we had problems. No wonder.
No wonder,
Yeah.
We tried using democracy. That shit couldn't bother work. Like, in real life, the word theocracy is not good.
No.
It is not a good thing.
Definitely not. In fact, part of the reason why America was created was because of the theocracy of Britain, right? Like
the theocracy, yeah, like divine birthright and stuff like that.
So
and
yeah, I mean
that is what Christian fascists want in America. They feel like they have a divine right to mandate the morals and reading material of everybody. Thank you so much for my good buddy Extra W. Caleb, one of our great humans. Watch his stream he did where he reacted to all the Caleb and Sophia videos while on shrooms.
Kind of amazing.
And Reno No Religion, thank you so much. We love it. Okay, so this part's great. Democracy bad, theocracy good. This guy, I think, now that he's out of Bethel, has a prominent future in the GOP.
I 100% agree. I really do think that Trump should recruit him for his
he's running out of
remaining campaign.
Yeah.
So those that are in the field, you thank God. Now there've been some good success stories. Not a lot of them. You put humans together like that, it's these different heads. I tell you what, doing zone visits, I said, this has got to change. One after the other needing an appointment. Matthew 5:23 and 24. Apparently it wasn't in their Bibles. I don't know if they ripped the page out. Somebody ripped it out of their Bible because they were not applying it. It was very, so we try to love them and help them, but we supplicated over that and that all ended.
So much to say about this.
Can I say, I think it's hilarious that he earlier was talking about how much he loved people, and in this very specific part of the talk, he's literally saying that no good comes from humans directing. Like, so do you love them? Do you not love people? Like,
well, how is Bethel supposed to work then? How if people can't dwell together in unity, then what's the problem with this? It doesn't but yeah, he just has this innately, and not just him, it is the entire organizational stance that like humans are fundamentally evil and like incapable of cohabiting together and getting along, and they will butt heads unless there is this strict hierarchy and rules in place.
So when Jehovah brought the governing body together, supposedly, was he making a mistake? Because no good comes from multiple people putting their heads together. And
yeah, well,
I'm confused. Should we not be doing this, or should we be doing this?
Yeah,
I'm confused.
Absolutely. And like really great point from Ron Pomo. This is just him crapping all over the former leaders that set this arrangement up. And like this, this is what's very revealing about this segment to me, is like he's clearly taking credit for getting rid of this arrangement he didn't like. It's like he's like, I said this arrangement's got to change because people were tearing Matthew 24. I got a little choked up. Sorry.
You got choked up at this part too last time. So.
I did. He said it had to change. And if you go back and watch that, I actually don't know if you've seen this, but there was like a leaked internal video of the AV department in Bethel where I think it's like Kenneth Flodine is being interviewed and talking about how it was really Anthony Morris who started this like animation push and stuff. So they love taking credit.
100%.
For stuff. And that is what this is. It's him holding court and being like, here's an awesome thing that I did. But I want to comment on this because Jesus was actually pretty based. And what we kept coming back to, and this is coming from an agnostic atheist, mind you, just speaking for me, you cannot possibly be a religious leader and be a follower of Jesus. Because
100%.
Jesus spoke out against religious leaders of his day. He started a movement in opposition to high-minded religious authorities who were concerned about the letter of the law.
Yeah.
And so what do they concentrate on in this organization? They concentrate on ancient Israel and how Jehovah organized everything and how all of these esoteric little like persnickety things that Jehovah did like were important and made sense. And then they focus on the formation of the first century church. And they'll focus on Jesus' parables because they can tell you, what they mean and how it applies. And
what did Jesus do when they wanted to make him king? He wasn't like, oh, okay, yeah, put that crown right here.
Yeah.
He ran into the mountains, right? And to escape their efforts to make him king. He didn't want that. So, but we have men who are sitting here saying that they are sons of Christ, doing the complete opposite.
Yeah, and like,
and they're actually putting the crown on their own head. They're not waiting for somebody to put it on.
No, and like, you know, they have this outward facing thing of humility, like, oh no, you know, we're not in charge, it's Jesus that's in charge. Well, you know, conveniently, we can't ask Jesus whether or not that's true.
Correct.
You only get that conclusion if you read their compendium and like cheat code guide to the Bible, where you understand actually this means this and that means that Anthony Morris gets to be a governing body member. So it's just all complete bullshit. But I like this, you know, like for something that likes to claim that it is so different from the politics of the world. Like this is how politics works. Absolutely. The new administration comes in and they're like, oh, that last administration, time to undo all that stuff. Yes. And that's exactly like, that's what crisis of conscience is all about. It's just like, okay, well, it used to be like this. Then this new administration came in and they changed all this stuff. And sometimes that means going back to things from like 3 administrations ago.
Yes.
Ugh, okay. I hate this shit.
And it's pretty well over. And it had its day. But Brother Glass, I heard him give a talk in 1971, and he was outstanding Gilead instructor. And I heard him in Florida say, you know, the number one problem we have in missionary homes is getting along with one another. So I'm on service committee years later. Number one problem we're having in the missionary homes is them getting along with one another. Nothing had changed. See, but
until Tony Morris came along, you see,
and until he corrected them all.
Yeah, the source of much of this is, trust me, bro, for sure, and 7 years ago. So wait, if the big J confused languages because and now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them, then could humans not be capable of some level of competence? I don't know. Like, none of this makes any sense. It's Correct. Like completely this. How is this not just the Pharisees, you know, being like all high and mighty about praying in the public squares? And I don't know.
That's what I think is so disturbing to me, even more now that I'm awake, is that you realize how Pharisaical they are, and how nothing they say means anything, but they expect you to follow the letter of the law because actually it does mean something. Yeah.
So I think it's important to note too, especially before we get into the stuff that's more like damning, like the thing that was really remarkable to me when waking up and reading about the history of the organization was not, you know, like waking up to the fact that it's a cult is not like you realize like, oh my God, when you get to the governing body, they all wear white robes and sacrifice goats and brand women and stuff. It's like, no, the thing that is sad about waking up is that you realize how mundane and human it is, that like no matter how far up you go, it's all still normal people just throwing their opinions around with absolutely no Holy Spirit involved.
None whatsoever.
I have a hard time believing that somebody who is like a mystic or like a spiritualist or a Christian could look at this and see any kind of like Holy Spirit operating and like, oh yes, look how godly this is.
Well, and especially when they get tripped up on stupid stuff like what Tony Morris is talking about right now. Like this has nothing to do with normal people's lives, right? That are in the organization. Brothers and sisters in the organization are not concerned about anything that he's talking about here. And quite frankly, I'm sure that the audience that are part of this Gilead talk could care less as well. I mean, only if you're so focused on the like hierarchy that you're creating for yourself would you be interested in this talk. If you're an actual like truth seeker, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna be like, what? Like this mean I don't understand why we're focusing on this.
And what I like, I had a real, I don't know, Jimmy Neutron brain blast watching this the first time, because this is like I would have found this, I think, very appealing, depending on, like, if I had gone into Gilead when I was like 23 or something and saw this, I think I would have just absolutely drank the flavor right here, because this reminds me of what it was like to hang out with my dad, who is an elder, and his elder friends, you know, after the women had gone in to cluck.
Yeah.
And gossip. We would sit around the fire and you know.
And cluck and gossip around
and do the exact same shit. It's absolutely the same thing. And like, but this is how they would talk, you know. It's like with this, with a level of candor that you don't hear from the platform that comes across as humility, because like people are so guarded that this kind of like more conversational tone feels liberating, I think.
Yeah.
But it also makes you feel like you're in the club.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, that's the whole thing. As cult leaders, you want a select number of normal people to feel like they're in the inner sanctuary in some way, because then it keeps your authority and power in place, and you're able to continue to make the cult or what have you grow and continue.
Yeah, and also, like, what has he even said? Be observant was one point he made, and that's about it. That's about the only thing he has said. It's like, you got to work on your powers of observation. Go in the zone like me. It absolutely is.
That's amazing.
It absolutely
is.
Such
a good poll.
But like, you made a comment when we had it muted that like the way he kind of like will mumble and like throw in some weird side comment is very like Biden-y. Like he's just like, and then you guys just
it totally
like, wait, what was it?
Yeah. He's like, hey, you should vote over here.
Like, Rose on the ballot. Anyway.
What am I voting for?
I don't know.
There are homes where there was an application of Bible principles functioned pretty good. But there were so many things wrong with it. They had people, you were way out in the field, teaching, preaching, and you call them back for the meal because the family voted on when it's going to be. And then you got to leave your field. You know what I mean? Take a 45-minute or an hour bus trip. Have we lost our mind? And then, you know, some of the home overseers, I won't say any nation. Alexander says, you better not, or I'm going to tell somebody.
When he said, I don't know what you mean, or do you know what I mean, or whatever, I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean.
Is there a nationality that does this on a table that we don't know? Is this a stereotype that I missed?
I'm literally, like, I'm so confused as to what's even being said that I can't formulate coherent thoughts.
I think I can translate his slurred, drunken ramblings. He is saying that, like, it used to be that you had to obey. We have a good record for freeze frame faces on this stream, I have to say. And like, what he's saying is like the arrangement used to be that like if you were living with a witness family, that you had to abide by their house rules. And if they had like mealtime at a certain time, then you might have to take a 45-minute break. What we talked about when we were watching this while stoned was like, the people who take the beliefs most seriously are the people who convert when they are adults.
Yeah.
Like people who are like us, we were raised in it, and we know that it's kind like a lot of it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't actually matter if you count your service time like from the Kingdom Hall to the first door. But people who had to come into it are like, no, I had to learn all these rules and change my life. This is really important. And that's him. Like he is somebody who came into it as an adult. And he is saying like, they were taking half-hour, 45-minute breaks. We have work to do. We have preaching to do. We can't be doing that. That's my read on this anyway.
I literally never liked people that were like that because, I mean, even Jesus had to sit at a well and take a break and get some water. And who knows how long that took him.
Yeah.
So why are we trying to be like do-gooders to a fault by sitting there going, we can't have 45-minute breaks. We have people to save. We have things to do.
45 minutes worth of preaching you could have done. He's like the dad on Everybody Hates Chris. It's 45 cents worth of chicken nuggets right there. And then, yeah, apparently he was about to say something racist and stopped himself. I don't know what that was going to be.
Yeah.
That was too confusing of a racial stereotype to make sense to me.
I don't get what he was trying to say. I just know that he was being a bigot about something that didn't align with his race, gender, or belief system. So
we watched some of the 75-minute version earlier, and now we're watching this version. But yes, the whole thing is worth watching on Warwick PIMO's channel. Okay, so this great face. Maybe I'll change the thumbnail to this face because it's pretty great.
I do love it.
I'll report you. So make good use of the provisions while you're here at Bethel and the provisions you get for those that'll be in the field. Here you got morning worship, practical direction. Let me just ask you this though. Other than the four commentators, what was the scripture text this morning? Who remembers it? Not the comment, the scripture, chapter, verse. See, I see that. Okay, so we're not trying to embarrass you, just isn't that interesting? Now, those that had comments, you probably remember John 6:67, right? But do yourself a favor. Really observe the scripture every morning. I try to apply this all the time, even when I'm away, because God's always observing. And
say that again. Even when I'm awake.
I said, even when he's awake, does that mean that he's trying to apply it when he's asleep?
Well, we learned, from the pillow videos that they do think that you have like a level of control over your dreams. If you're thinking about something sexy before bed and you have a pillow between your legs, you might just hump it to the point of censored.
Censored.
But okay, well, let's let this play out before we get into the full.
Yeah.
Really burn that verse in, because it's about the scripture. The comments are great. You maybe heard a good comment, but meditate on it. And if I found 20 times I say that verse, think of the context, I own it. Very rare you're going to be able to come up to me and say, what was the scripture this morning? And I won't remember. So
is he bragging about the fact that
Okay, I think we're good now.
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh my God. I should be able to edit out this part in post. Okay, good. All right. So the thing that's interesting about this whole section to me is the value, it would seem to me, of having morning worship and stuff would be the fact that you are hearing your brothers and sisters' expressions of faith, and they are getting something out of it that you didn't. There is no inherent value in just memorizing a verse, but that is the emphasis that they're putting on it.
But also, Tony Morris is sitting there going if you were to challenge me and whether or not I remember whatever Bible verse that was said in morning worship, think again, because I will remember. Okay, I wasn't concerned about that, but
right.
Thank you for making that a point.
Yeah, and the thing that is so frustrating about it is the way this would come across if you are a witness is, oh, look, see, the emphasis is on the Bible, not the comments and stuff. But no, there's no value in just rote memorization of verses. That's not helpful.
Everything that the witnesses do is to just memorize rather than to understand, because even when it comes to the original songs or like the kingdom melodies or whatever, they're always like, you got to memorize these because when you're in the Great Tribulation and you don't have anything else, you got to memorize so that way you have it. And that's all you do. You have to memorize what is important. You can't, you're not there to understand it.
Yeah, I like this guy. It's like he made a game out of memorizing verses that he's winning, and now he's bragging about it.
Yes, and nobody knew that this was a game. It was the only game that he was playing with himself. So
people are saying this is from 2014. Okay, it seems about right. Memorizing verses was a punishment for me. Now I can get brownie points for that. Yeah.
Ooh, brownie.
Ooh, brownie points. Okay. All right, let's get back to our old buddy here.
A friend of mine came with her to work in the service department for years. Fred Franz had just given a talk. I wanted to know about it. I knew he'd
about it.
He wanted to know about the talk. This is, I believe, where we get into the misogyny part.
I can't wait. Buckle up, guys.
It's great. Yeah, buckle up your fuckle ups because we're about to hear some craziness. But it's also interesting.
Crazy town.
You know, think back to the infamous overlapping generations talk that David Spillane gave, where they start counting, you know, generations with when like Fred Franz was born and died. There is this weird fetishization of Fred Franz, which I find interesting.
100% agree with you. It's either Fred Franz or Nor. I feel like those are the two that people that are in this like higher level are they're focused on those two guys like to a weird degree.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if you do read Crisis of Conscience and you can actually hear the audio on JW Facts, like you can hear Fred Franz like decry the idea of a governing body. Like he was one of the people who hated this idea of moving to a governing body.
Yes.
So I'm sure he is looking down from his place as the 143,000th person in heaven and saying, no.
Or he's looking up because I don't know where that guy went.
He's looking up from the bowels of hell.
Yeah, I don't know where that guy went.
We don't know, but there's no neutral. He's not looking from purgatory.
Limbo.
You either go forward or you go back. Okay? But
giving it. Well, this Gilead couple are staying overnight with this couple because they invite us over, and my good friend that's there. So I started to ask him about Brother Franz's talk, and I love Fred Franz's talks, and even deep. I wanted to hear what he had to say, and this sister wouldn't shut up. All about what she's learning at Gilead. She just would not shut up. I know she was excited, but it's like, excuse me, it wasn't my house, and the host is not saying anything. I said, excuse me, I'm glad you're enjoying Gilead. It's exciting, but could you let him finish? Because I asked him about Fred Franz's talk, and it's starting to get later. I do want to hear it before I leave. Do you mind? Oh, So she didn't have her observation powers on. She had her mouth on. See? So I don't know whatever happened.
Had a mouth on her?
She had a mouth on her. That was an interesting thing about that lady.
As opposed to other people who have no mouths.
This guy doesn't have a mouth on him. This is so crazy because you can hear a pin drop when he starts saying this. When he says, they just wouldn't shut up. No laughter. But he's clearly expecting it.
I am so upset and triggered by that. That's what I said, Caleb. I said people are laughing not because they think it's funny. They're so uncomfortable. They don't know what to do. Like, he's literally talking about how he told a woman to shut up.
And can we, like, she was talking about Gilead.
This is what I'm saying.
She wasn't talking about, like, shopping.
Right.
Which we know women love to talk about. But no, like, she was giving, like, expressions of faith and excitement in this fucking school that he's teaching right now.
So this is what really makes my blood boil about men who think that they are the end all be all. This misogyny that's fostered in the organization is, you as a woman would never be able to tell a man, shut up.
Hey, I want to hear this guy's story. Can you shut up?
I want to hear this person's story.
Yeah.
So I know you're excited, but you need to shut up. If I said that as a woman in the organization, I would be in the back room being counseled for not being submissive. But a man can say that to a woman, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Chuckle.
Yeah, and like I think it was almost like an interesting like psychological study which has happened, because he clearly expected a bit of laughter and there was not. But as he keeps insisting upon it, people start giving like nervous laughter.
Yeah, because if you were to hear this in any other scenario by somebody else, you'd sit there and be like, "You're a dick. Shut up. Like, stop talking." Yeah. In no normal situation in society is it okay to do that. And here he's setting the status quo that you can talk to women this way and it's fine. Women need to shut up. They shouldn't be running their mouths. Like, okay, well, I'm also a thinking human being and I have opinions and I'm excited. And she may have been excited that she was in the presence of a governing body member because, like, yeah, why wouldn't you if you're a PIMO witness?
I'm thinking that she wasn't super encouraged at the end of that evening, by the way. No,
and I love how he was like, and she went,
yeah.
And really, I would only assume that she wasn't like all upset because she was told to she was put in her place.
He makes fun of her reaction of being like, oh, okay.
I'm sure that her reaction was just feelings of hurt because of how he talked to her. Why wouldn't you be hurt by somebody telling you to shut up because I'm talking to I want to hear what this person has to say? Like, that's upsetting.
And like, this is embarrassing.
Yes.
This is so fucking embarrassing that he's like, I want to hear the story about Fred France. I want to hear about his talk. What is he going to... You know, these talks are the fucking same. They say the same thing over and over.
And what is it that person, that brother or whoever that is telling the story about Fred France, what is he going to say to Morris that's going to add to his life that he's not heard before? But, you know, you're supposed to exchange encouraging stories and you know, be supportive of people's excitement about the ministry. And in this moment, if I were that sister, I would be like, well, I don't want to fucking do this anymore because if this is what's happening, I'm out. Like, that's ugh.
And somebody said there was a really good comment about like how she, like, this woman, like, reached some of the highest honor that you can get in the organization by being able to go to Gilead. And this is how she was treated.
Yes.
You know? And he's just bragging about it like it's a funny story.
Well, and that's what's even more upsetting about the whole circumstance surrounding this is that it's not just like a passing comment. You know, he's telling a story to like provide an object lesson or whatever. He is telling the story in a way that he's bragging about how he spoke to his sister because she was not in her lane, so to speak, and she needed to be put right back.
Yep.
And that's what is upsetting.
Yeah.
So upsetting.
It's really bad. It's very awkward and uncomfortable to watch. I'm so thankful that Warwick PIMO released this. I think it would be really interesting to see other governing body members give talks because they definitely do at Gilead. And I'm sure some of them are more like scripture based, but I'm sure a lot of them have the same kind of like conversational vibe and bragging about themselves.
Well, and this is why there's such a strong, unhealthy pattern of misogyny in the organization, whether you're a man or you're a woman, because people who are taking the lead in this religious organization, like they're showing what is appropriate, what's okay. Yeah. And as a woman, being that you obviously can't talk because you're going to be told to shut up. You just foster and you like hold on to that stuff inside, and you don't ever have a healthy way of getting rid of that toxic manhood. Like,
yeah,
the toxicity that's surrounding you by other brothers, you don't have an outlet. So you just foster the misogyny that's projected on you. And then that's an unhealthy trait that as a woman, you end up projecting on other people, you know? So it's just it's upsetting to see a group of people who are supposed to be loving towards all, especially those in the organization, they're more horrible to their fellow believer than to a stranger, that's really sad.
This is a classroom. He is teaching every man in his class that this is an acceptable way to think and behave. If a woman is talking too much, it is appropriate to be thinking, oh my God, this person needs to shut up. And like, I love this comment too. Like, he dwells on this person. Like, this to him is some canon event in his life. The time that a woman talked too much and he was annoyed. Like, oh my God. Somebody said,
I really like this comment because imagine Jesus in the same situation. Like, this really is a what would Jesus do scenario, because knowing the example that Jesus set, and being that you're supposed to be a follower of Christ, why do you think that Jesus would never turn to a woman and tell her to shut up? In fact, he gave women the voice that they had been suppressing because of the men who were in power and authority. So do you think that Jesus would turn to an excited sister who's telling her experiences and go, sister, will you shut up? Because I want to hear that brother over there talk about another brother who's dead now.
Well, and I might be misremembering because it's been a while since I had projects where I had to look at multiple translations of the Bible. But is there not a section in the Gospels about like Jesus telling a woman who was like so concerned about being a good host, like, hey, don't worry about it, just come in and join the conversation? Like, she was so concerned with like feeding everyone and being a good host that she was like missing out on the spiritual discussion.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to bring women in.
Right.
So yeah.
I
still find that hilarious how Tony talked for an hour about men wearing tight pants, begged for something like that. Oh, you're talking about this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's also a good comment. But Jesus would have demanded the woman to get him a glass of water, but he would have listened to him. Well, that's true. I mean, listen, I'm being respectful, but I don't know that I don't know that Jesus meets the standards of a modern day feminist, but he was less misogynistic than Toni Morris.
Yes.
Yeah, what were you trying to highlight?
I'm so sorry. Go up. There's a comment by here. Sorry.
Okay, I totally agree. But I can already hear my JDB friend say he would have told a brother to shut up too. How would we debate that? Well, it's ridiculous that he feels the need to tell anybody to shut up when they are excitedly sharing their expressions of faith.
And I feel like it wouldn't have been presented the same way as it was to that sister. It would have been, hey, brother, come over here with me. Let's have a conversation about why what you did there wasn't necessarily appropriate. It would have been more of a it would have been an underhanded shut up. Well,
and here's what I think. This is a thing that only Toni Morris could have gotten away with.
Oh yeah.
First of all, this is a scenario where apparently they're just hearing, everyone's talking. Unbeknownst to anyone, Toni Morris wants to hear a story about Fred Franz because he has some boner for Fred Franz. And probably the sister didn't know that. And he is personally annoyed because he is wants to go home and he's running out of time. And he's like, hey, before I leave, I want to hear this story, so shut up. If an elder did what he did and say hey, put your mind, I want to hear this story. I'm pretty sure another elder is going to pull that guy aside and say, hey, you really pissed off my wife by doing that. That was really inappropriate. Yes. I was upset by it, and you need to apologize. this is not how any other Christian would be advised to behave.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if it was a brother who was being told to shut up, it would be a completely different scenario. The presentation would have been completely different. And yes, we are talking about Anthony Morris here, so not necessarily would there be multiple brothers telling sisters to shut up. But I think I saw something in the comments about, like, this is where men are able to, they're being shown that it's okay to abuse women in some way, verbally, physically, emotionally,
to assert dominance.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, they mentioned in the comments about, like, domestic violence. Like, this is why women don't feel like they can stand up if there is domestic violence in the house because of the way that they're talked to and they're treated.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. It's like the time he talked about people giving too long prayers at breakfast because I want to eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if something is personally annoying to a governing body member, they can enact legislation to make that thing, you know, illegal in the organization, whereas everybody else just has to put up with their shit. Like, all the history of this organization is people getting into power who have different preferences than other people and being, you know, like, well, I want it to be like this. So I think this is out.
Yeah.
Let's watch the next little bit of this.
With that girl, but God help her, somehow or another she must have learned something some way. It's sad, but you know, for me personally, I think this is a gem, because in the schooling I had before being one of Jehovah's people, I could count on one hand the good teachers I had.
Okay, before we get into this, this is something he says throughout a lot throughout this talk. Christina just had to get a little snack and she's gonna go to the bathroom or something. So, but like, the God helper, you know, hopefully she learns something at Gilead. He says this a few times throughout his talk, like, oh, God help people who feel like this. Yes, it's very annoying. So he's now going to talk about, like, oh, wow, we used to not have good teachers. Luckily, you have me, a great teacher.
Very few.
Like Christ himself.
Personally, I think this is a gem, because in the schooling I had before being one of Jehovah's people, I could count on one hand the good teachers I had. Very few. They were all about rote, you know, memory, and they stunk. And I was so bored with most of them. And I'm like, give me a break, you know? And not with most of them. And I'm like, give me a break, you know? And not a pleasant student of them. And I'm like, give me a break, you know?
Give me a break. Give me a break off that Kit Kat bar.
Can I say how hypocritical his train of thought is here? Because he literally just said how some of his least favorite teachers were the ones that had an emphasis on rote and memorization. And he literally just finished talking about how you need to memorize the Bible.
Yeah. Don't worry so much about the comment of the text. Think about that. Memorize that text all day, every day. This is so incredible. Like, he is like, oh man, we used to have these terrible teachers. Now you got me. Aren't you lucky? So we don't believe in luck.
And not a pleasant student to have when I think you're an idiot. And I'm not saying I was appropriate. I was a worldly guy, and I didn't like being bored. And one teacher says, you know, what's your problem? I says, you're boring. You're cruel, too.
That actually made me laugh when we first watched it. Maybe I took this out of context. Maybe he was just talking about being in school generally. But anyway, but I think that's the dichotomy he's trying to draw, right? Like, oh boy, when I was growing up, the teachers were so boring. But this school you're at right now, isn't this great? You love this.
Actually.
And we don't hit you.
but actually, secretly, we do hate you.
Just with our words. Oh, hit, I meant.
Oh, hit.
Not hate.
Oh, it's not like you said hate you.
No,
actually.
His hatred comes through loud and clear.
Yeah.
I didn't like being bored, so I became the most boring teacher. It's true. wasn't appropriate. I was worldly, while simultaneously insulting his sister.
Right.
Yeah. Unlike now I'm super spiritual and appropriate at all times.
I was going to make the same comment because I thought it was really not self-aware in that statement that he made. I wasn't appropriate. I was worldly, but I'm better now. Even though I just got finished telling you a story about how I told his sister to shut up.
Yeah, and I was my only one watching this thinking like, okay, so you didn't change at all. Like he could have been telling a story about him calling a Bethel instructor boring, and I would totally buy it. He's this guy, but this is the thing that people liked about him. Those who did like him, I think, liked this, his kind of no nonsense, candor.
I was gonna say
my own children called me Frank. That's true.
Is that true?
Yeah,
I did not know.
They called him Frank because he was such a frank person. Mm-hmm.
But that's a dad joke.
It's great. It's great.
Very creepy.
But with Jehovah God, the education. See, any of your instructors boring you here at school? I don't think so. Sisters, and I've learned a lot from the sisters, by the way, anointed sisters now in heaven, as well as our sisters in Scripture. You can learn a lot from women. And don't forget, a large chunk of the resurrected anointed were women at one time. So I always tease the sisters, you're not going to be able to say, you don't understand. Because those resurrected kings are going to say, oh, yes, we do, honey. And you better do what you've just been told to do. See how wise Jehovah is? A large chunk of the resurrected anointed were women at one time. So I always tease the sisters, you're not going to be able to say, you don't understand. Because those resurrected kings are going to say, oh, yes, we do, honey.
Gay mannerism just now.
I don't really know. Drag kings.
Yes, we do, honey.
Were women at one time. Yes. So it's like, okay, he's kind of mixing up his verb tenses here. I think what he is saying is that, when there's no gender in heaven, and yet he still calls them kings.
Yeah,
so,
which specific to gender.
Which is a gendered term.
Yes.
Which, I mean, he's just using the Bible, so he, there's only so much you can do. But this is such a strange thing. Like, oh no.
Does he honey brothers too?
I'm like, oh yes, we do, honey. This is how the angels are gonna talk in heaven?
I mean, if they're drag kings and there's no gender, so they're gender fluid.
Well, they're gonna have beards. We know that.
Obviously.
Yeah. We've seen angels in the publications. This is Slay. He's so sassy. But it's also isn't this envisioning a scenario where in heaven there's some bickering about what to do, and I don't want to do this in heaven, and he's like, oh no, yes you do, honey. This is what heaven is going to be like.
If it is, I don't want to be a part of it. Send me to hell.
Hey puppy, send me to hell. Oh my god. This is so weird. But it also the no gender in heaven thing is very odd because they seem to retain all of the gendered thoughts and expectations, and it's so arbitrary.
I just don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm just going to leave it at that because then I'm going to start going on a Toni Morris ramble.
It might just not make sense. But let's revisit it one more time.
Women at one time. So I always tease the sisters, you're not going to be able to say, you don't understand. Because those resurrected kings are going to say, oh, yes, we do, honey. And you better do what you've just been told to do. See how wise Jehovah is? Yeah. I told one Bethel sister.
Yeah, is he making fun of the wisdom of God?
That's literally because he goes, look how wise Jehovah is. I feel like there was some sarcasm and condescension towards his own God.
So he's envisioning a scenario where an AFAB angel is I don't want to do this, and a AMAB Angel is saying, oh, well, you better do it, what you were just told, honey. Like, why is there going to be all this disagreement among the 144,000?
When they're supposed to be united and in one, like, mind and body.
AFAB Angel, not a bad band name, by the way. But anyway, this is purely insane. This kind of like speculation as to like what heaven is going to be like is so weird. But yeah, you're hanging out with one of your leaders. You're on even footing with him.
I also find it interesting that his interpretation of women is, you just don't understand.
Who's saying this?
And also, what is it that people aren't understanding about women? Are they saying that, or are they saying you're not listening to me because I'm a woman and you're a man and you need to listen to what I'm saying?
But he's not sexist. He just said you can learn a lot from women. That's good, right?
Shut up.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up. This is what I'm thinking about, too.
No, for real, though.
This guy has a wife who we should include in our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, my heart goes out to her.
No, I'm not going to be praying for anybody. No, I'm an atheist. I don't fucking pray.
Okay, calm down, please.
Members of the congregation, I'm wondering if they use a lot. No, you can hear at certain points. I cut out earlier because it's like I didn't want to hear like the reading of the full scripture, but like you can hear people like reading scriptures and giving comments and stuff. Oh my god, insane.
So insane.
Sister, I want to see. She's a tuxedo. Yeah, Hove is. Yeah, I told one Bethel sister I want to see. She's a tuxedo, and I was telling her about she's a tuxedo.
I think he's having
What is
a
he
stroke.
even saying? This is nonsense.
Yeah.
I think
he said something about the sister being in tuxedo.
Yeah, which is their if this is around 2014, I think they still have the tuxedo complex, which is just the location that it's called. It doesn't have anything to do with having to wear a tuxedo. But hey, by the way, we have about 250 people watching. Please do remember to like the video and leave
and
comments.
also help Jake with the fact that he can't talk.
Yeah, I'm being all high and mighty making fun of this guy's mumbling. I am not known for being a super clear speaker myself. That was always my counsel point.
That's something that I mentioned earlier. I was like, give me a BE book so I can tell this brother what he needs to work on.
Yes,
he's like
enunciation.
Leaning back in his chair.
Hey, listen, you all want to smack a broad sometimes when they're trying to interrupt a story about your favorite speaker of all time, Fred Frings.
Your secret crush.
Yeah, secret crush. I don't know how secret it is. Okay.
And I was telling her about, these sisters and all the authority, and she goes, yes, whoa. And I said, calm down. You're not in heaven. You didn't get any authority yet, except in the house. No, she's a real good girl. Oh, boy.
Oh, she's a good girl.
That's what we say to Peaches.
I'm about to say, we have a good girl. We have a good girl down here. She's so sleepy. She's like, oh, good. They're trotting me out for content again. My favorite thing. But this is so fucking insane. I think it's a real problem for them that they really don't like to dwell on. Like, if women are going to be co-equal with men in heaven, and there will not, in fact, be any gender, then why aren't they trying to make that happen on earth? Like, if it is God and you are always with Peaches, and I never get to hold
always
this
with
dog.
God, okay?
Okay.
I'm not always with Peaches.
Well, I don't, God is dead to me, so I only have this dog, which is God backwards. So, like, he's saying, like, hey, watch yourself. You don't have any authority yet because you're not in heaven. And, like, okay, but isn't that an issue for their entire theology? That in heaven, men and women are supposed to be equal? And that seems to be the message of Jesus' gospel.
Well, I think that it's really, again, like, it shows the character of the men in this organization when he literally said, calm down, sister. You don't have authority yet. Like, you won't have authority until you go to heaven. And then until that happens, I can tell you whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
And then your authority is at home. Like, what is...
This is what, yeah. This, like, you might have said except in the kitchen. That's kind of what he was saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Very infantilizing to call who seems to be an older woman a good girl. Very weird. This is your familiar. This is your, like, spirit animal. But it's not fair. It's not fair. I think she would have stayed with me if you hadn't wrested her from my grasp.
I'm just doing you a favor and giving you more ability to talk and gesture, and
I do love to gesture. I like to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying,
and to live stream in the appropriate way. Okay, this is my BE book counsel to you.
Tony is exercising his PP privilege in a big way in this talk. Okay, let's there's more. If you can believe it, there's more to this. This has been a 10-minute clip, by the way. Now, we did talk about even more.
That said crotch, not scotch.
Great. Hey, that's a good point. She's a good girl. Okay. Yeah. He should really consider the fact that he is a part of a bride class. But he's kind of a bridezilla. This Tony.
He really is.
Tony Morris. It's really true. She sees this guy and she's like, I need to be farther away from this. All right. There's a bit more.
The zone work. The year before we had internationals, you don't do zone work then. So I'd never done. Well, anyway, Leon wanted to interview me at the special meal. And I said, nah, Leon. I said, you want to have a real great interview? Macumba. So get him up there. Man, he brought the house down, didn't he? Because he'd been traveling work in, what was it, Tanzania? And I mean, incredible story. What a face full of life's experiences. Bethelites that were right there in front of him, they were sleeping in their little hut, and he stepped over them while they were sleeping to go out in the service. Now they're at Bethel. Incredible. See, you get, and him and his wife, and I don't have time now because we're done, but what he told Nor, you remember what he told Nor? Because he went to the 10-month Gilead without his wife. So he's getting his graduation diploma, and he says to Nor, thank you, and I miss my wife. And then he walked off. And
I was specifically triggered by that face he made, that, like, because that's what my grandfather does.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
like when he gives a little sassy
that.
coming, it's like,
yeah. I also love that, again, he is going on and on in complimentary fashion about another man. Like, he was like, oh, that face. Like,
that face. Holy shit, you could kiss it for hours. The laugh lines on his face were chiseled by the gods.
Pure speech.
Yes, and let us not skip over the fact that they get a diploma.
Oh, that's right.
Which I'm sure is generated in Microsoft Word. You know, of like, you went to our fake school that we made up. I mean, speaking of Trump, this is the whole Trump University 100%. Scheme right here. This is fucking remarkable. God, what I wouldn't give to see these guys in a deposition, by the way. If you want to see some fun stuff, you can get, there a lot of the footage of the depositions of the Trump University stuff is available, and it's a very good cringe fest. But anyway, that's completely off topic. This is so wild to me. It's like an example of, if you have to tell a story about how humble you are, it is no longer, like, that's by definition not humility. Correct.
It's like that I'm the funniest person in the world, just ask me sort of scenario.
No, this is the kind of comment I love to say. It's really like, there is a very strange, homoeroticism to their, like, the way they talk about Jesus as this, like, beautiful, perfect man, and like, oh, King David, that guy was hot. Oh, he had to have been so hot.
I mean, to seduce Bathsheba, of course.
And, not a problem if you're not also suppressing any form of homoeroticism in your religion.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, it's this kind of thing gave me a complex. A complex? New word I just invented. It's because I'm listening to this guy talk, all mealy mouth.
It's only compounding your mumbling word issues that you already have.
Yeah, me at compounding. So the thing that was no, but like there is, I think a lot you can learn about this, and if I'm right, I think it was on this video. Like, now my comment didn't get a lot of likes where I said "holy cannoli," but anyway, there was a comment that I saw on this that was just like, yeah, this is the one that stood out to me. A perfect example of what haughty is.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, obviously you can listen to politicians and like manosphere influencers say way more misogynistic stuff on a daily basis and on live television. It's hard to be shocked by anything. But this is shocking for an organization that claims to be Jehovah's one true organization on earth.
Right.
They are being directly led by Jesus Christ.
Right.
I have some questions.
A beautiful man, in fact.
A beautiful man led by one of the most beautiful men ever.
Yeah.
The most.
The greatest, most beautiful man who ever walked the earth.
That's their next revision of that book. The hottest man, the hottest teacher who ever lived. Now, you heard of being hot for teacher. This Jesus, ooh, yeah.
I'm not hot for teacher. I'm on fire for
I'm
teacher.
on fire for this particular teacher. Yeah, so anyway, I think we covered it. I mean, I think that we covered this thing pretty well, and it took us about 90 minutes. So thank you so much for joining us. We had a blast. I'm working on some videos, and it's just, I don't know. I always appreciate all you guys joining us. We had so many folks, and it was just a blast. So
it was a blast.
Continue checking out Warwick PIMO's channel because he's just dropping straight fire on the regs. So
on the regs,
fire on the regs, baby.
And then Peach says that she loves you guys, but she's upset by the content that Anthony Morris was.
She is literally turning away from wrongdoing.
I mean, she's a girl too.
Good girl.
And
it's appropriate to say good girl to a dog.
This
perhaps.
is what I'm saying.
Although Jesus, we must remember, called a woman a little dog at one point in the Bible. So.
What?
Yeah.
When?
Like a little dog who deserves table scraps.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
No.